that our significant climate investment will, quote, help turbocharge turbocharge the emerging global clean energy economy. I was reading their quote, sorry. On methane across sectors, especially from super emitters, to make sure it's not released into communities impacting on public health. All told, these steps will reduce U.S. methane emissions from covered sources by 87% below. My friends, I came to the presidency determined to make the transformational changes that are needed, that America needs to make, driving up global inflation. Against this backdrop, it's more urgent than ever that we double down on our climate commitments. Russia's war only enhances the urgency of the need to transition the world off its dependence on fossil fuels. True energy security means every nation. From my first days in office, my administration has led with a bold agenda to address the climate crisis and increase energy security at home and around the world. We immediately rejoined the Paris Agreement. We convened major climate summits and reestablished. I apologize we ever pulled out of the agreement. I want to thank one proud American veteran, a lifelong public servant, a dear friend, and literally one of the most decorated men to fight, Special Envoy for Climate, John Kerry. John, your commitment, your passion, your diplomatic expertise have been absolutely critical to delivering incredible progress on climate issues over the past 2 years. And I thank you, pal. I thank you for being my friend. And that's why last year I committed to work with our Congress to quadruple U.S. support to climate finance and provide $11 billion annually by 2024, including $3 billion for adaptation. That's why the Fund Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience, PREPARE we call it, to help more than 500 million people in developing countries respond to climate change. We're already requested more than $2 billion for the PREPARE this year. I'm going to fight to see that this and our other climate objectives are fully funded. Today, as a down payment, we're announcing more than $150 million in initiatives that specifically support PREPARE's adaptation efforts throughout Africa, including Adaptation in Africa, effort that Egypt and the United States launched together in June. This includes support for expanding early warning systems to help cover Africa, broadening access to climate finance, providing disaster risk protection, strengthening food security, mobilizing the private sector, and supporting new training center in Egypt to accelerate adaptation across the efforts all across the continent. My administration has also made the United States the first ever contributor to the Adaptation Fund last year, and this year we're doubling our pledge to bringing our total commitment to $100 million. We're also supporting the Global Shield, a G7 initiative to better protect vulnerable countries everywhere from climate-related losses and quickly respond to climate-related damages. And the G7-led Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment is working to meet the critical infrastructure needs in low and middle-income countries with specific focus on climate. The project we're facilitating is built on transparency, partnership, the protections for workers and the environment. One of the many projects already underway is a partnership between American firms and the government of Angola to invest $2 billion building new solar projects in Angola. And everywhere. I'm pleased to announce today, alongside the European Union and Germany, a $500 million package to finance and facilitate Egypt's transition to clean energy. This package will enable Egypt to deploy 10 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, while bringing offline 5 gigawatts of inefficient gas-powered facilities, reducing emissions in Egypt and power sector by 10%. We will also work with Egypt to capture nearly 14 billion cubic meters of natural gas, which Egypt currently flares, vents, or leaks from its oil and gas operations. And because of this cooperation, Egypt is elevating its climate ambition and submitting enhanced national determination contributions. If we're going to win this fight, every major emitter nation needs to align with the 1.5 degrees.
Today, Secretary Kerry met with Lula's team and they discussed help to protect the Amazon. What kind of assistance is the United States considering?
So President Biden has had a very long-standing view that it is the obligation of the United States and other major economies to help Brazil protect its rainforest. The same goes for other countries with significant rainforests like Indonesia. And so he's going to look for an early opportunity to sit with the incoming president, who has expressed a real commitment and motivation to protect the Amazon, and talk about a variety of forms of assistance we can give. Not just technical assistance, but financial assistance as well. That's something President Biden sees as a real priority.
The president said yesterday that he found it interesting that Russia waited until after the midterm elections to announce this withdrawal from Kherson. The implication being that Russia was held off on withdrawing to have some kind of effect on the midterms. So was the president just speculating there, or do you guys have any evidence to back that up? And then I have a grinder question.
I think what the president said should be taken at face value. He thought it was interesting timing that you had the election on November 8th, and on November 9th, they made the significant announcement in Kherson, and I'll just leave it at that.
Secondly, the Treasury released a report today saying that, or criticizing China for not being more transparent about its foreign exchange policy, and explicitly calling it a failure. Will the two leaders speak about that tomorrow as well?
Oh, and you asked about the FX report. I would just say that this has been a long-standing concern of the United States. It's been reflected in previous reports. It doesn't come as a significant surprise, but it is an area of significant concern for the United States. And I can't tell you standing here today whether that particular topic will come up among the wide range of things we have to discuss with Pierre. Thank you.
Just real quick on Xi Jinping and the meeting there. President Biden has obviously met with him many times in the past. Some of the success of those meetings was seen to be a little bit of open-ended and sometimes informalities. This will be different, but is there anything that you guys are doing to try to recreate those sort of more informal exchanges that the two of them had, or is it sort of a meeting set up with many people alongside each side of the table that makes those types of informal discussions more difficult?
So the current setup of the meeting is one in which each of them will meet alongside their teams, but even in instances on video conferences where each leader has had their team with them, the hallmark of their engagement, no matter who's in the room, is one where they don't just read talking points, they don't just kind of march methodically through each of their scripts. They actually do have a robust back and forth, and it's on the bigger picture. Where is this relationship headed? Where is the PRC headed? Where is the U.S. headed? And especially at this moment, as the president comes out of these midterms, as Xi Jinping comes out of the 20th Party Congress, that bigger picture conversation is probably the most important element of this meeting. That's what the president has on his mind going in. And I think for that reason, it is going to be an important and, in my view, highly constructive contribution to how we manage this relationship going forward.